Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live. We are December the 3rd, 2025, and the picture I put together for you on the screen here, Venezuelan President Maduro and former Bolivian President Morales. Both these men have one thing in common. Morales already has been overthrown, ousted, had to flee to another country, and Maduro on the verge of being ousted by Donald Trump through a military coup. A little bit harder to overthrow him, don't you think, Mr. Trump? But nonetheless, Israel has given you the order, and you're going to obey the orders because these two men have one thing in common. They both have stood up to Israel and they have both clearly called Israel's acts against Palestinians as a genocide. I'm going to be going into this today. Of course, Morales was taken out before that, but he was already standing up against Israel, changing the visa status where Israelis just couldn't come in there and rob his country of lithium. And again, both these countries that these men were leaders of are very rich in natural resources. So no, Israel's not going to take anything. You're going to not lift your heel up against Israel without Israel raining down their terror upon them. And by the way, before we get into all of that, let me just clearly share with you another very interesting point. We're going to go into this as well, and that is Cynthia McKinney posted today on her Twitter account, her X account, the terrifying case of Natalie Streker. Natalie, please forgive me if I pronounced your name wrong there. This amazing lady right here sharing posts on her X account, thousands of posts from what I understand, but her government, the United Kingdom, England, has come against her. She is facing possible up to 14 years in prison for daring to stand with the Palestinians in their plight against their terrorist overlords, Israel, and what Israel is doing to them. That's coming to America, friends, and it's coming very rapidly. You know, the Noahide laws that my wife has been writing about on her Substack, you definitely want to subscribe to her Substack. I'll share the link in the description below. But just recently, we put together a petition, repeal the Noahide laws and stop education and sharing day 2026. I'll put the link to that in the description as well. Those laws, Yana has written one book. We're working on a second book now. The first book is not out in print as of yet, but it will be soon. And by the way, she'll be tomorrow night on John B. Wells Coast to Coast, or excuse me, sorry about that, John Caravan to Midnight. I know when I first met John, he was a host over on Coast to Coast AM there, but he has his own broadcast since called Caravan to Midnight. It airs on the radio across the nation, and as well it's on YouTube, it's on X. John B. Wells, an amazing man. I consider him a good friend. He also is having Yana speak on those 7 Noahide laws, and of course, that's only the surface of the laws, about 100 sub laws there, and of course it takes away your rights, your freedom, period. And the United States government is on the verge of making this so unified to where we'll be facing laws just like what is happening in Britain now against this woman here, where she's about to be put in prison for the next 10 to 14 years of her life. Someone needs to stand up for this lady, and we need to speak on her case as well. Let me get into what the story is about tonight, though. I saw on RT today Trump gave Maduro exit ultimatum, according to Reuters. And RT was publishing this here. U.S. President Donald Trump gave his Venezuelan counterpart, Nicolás Maduro, an ultimatum to flee the country last month after weeks of increasing military pressure and deadly strikes on boats. Reuters reported on Tuesday, citing anonymous sources. The call reportedly took place on November the 21st, shortly before the Trump administration designated Cartel de los Soles as a terrorist group, an organization that claimed is headed by Maduro and accuses of trafficking drugs into the U.S. Well, as I shared with you guys before, I know too well what the United States does. They like to control the drugs that flow into this country. When I was speaking across the nation about the time that I worked with the CIA and spent those 7 years there, not knowing that that's what was going on, putting the pieces of the puzzle together later while they assassinated people here, American citizens, in order to silence them so they didn't dare speak out about the money laundering that was going on. Yeah, believe it or not, churches are heavily involved in that as well, especially mega churches. They're great sources for money laundering, but power companies also laundered money as well. And it was President George H.W. Bush that put a stop to one of those investigations. Why? Because it would have uncovered what this Iran Contra affair really was all about. It would uncover all the illegal drugs coming in, everything from the time of Vietnam to even Afghanistan, the poppy fields there being harvested, brought into America and Europe both. I could tell you how that was done. I've done it before in videos. But also South America, Central America, huge amounts of drugs over the years back in the 80s were flowing in. We know about the Mena, Arkansas base. A good friend of mine who listens to this broadcast was a pilot that flew in a commercial sized airliner into the Mena, Arkansas field just because he was asked to do it, had no idea what it was being used for until he got met with masked, armed, military style men coming out with assault weapons, meeting him on the tarmac, needing to know who he was. It is very, very interesting to say the least. So, as I've often said, no, Trump is not trying to rein in the narco terrorists. There's several reasons for it. One, the biggest reason, Maduro dares stand up against Israel. Secondly, they're not paying the pauper. Is Maduro really a drug cartel warlord bringing drugs into America? Look, I can't answer that yes or no. I'm not against President Maduro. I appreciate that he stands for human rights going on in Israel against the Palestinians. That's what I appreciate this man for. But could he be a part of the drug cartel? Maybe so. Nonetheless, I can tell you this much, politicians aren't getting their cut, and that's one reason why Maduro's got to go. Secondly, though, kind of like Morales, he has a vast supply of natural resources, gas, oil, and of course, he's got gold. Now, Trump likes to boast about the oil that he has and everything, and we should have taken it. But then he acts like, oh, it's such a horrible oil. Trump is just, he's not even a good liar. He really isn't. But let's get into more about this, what's going on. I want to share with you here this post here of Dabu 7. It's about to pop off. Major blackout hits Caracas. Maduro rallies troops as U.S. warships approach. This just coming out. Dabu put this, oh, I'm sorry. Dabu is on August the 31st there. So it's a little while back when that happened, but there is already talk that there's a lot going on, a lot anticipated right now. I really appreciate Dabu's work. He does a lot of amazingly good work there. Let me just hit latest there on Trump and Venezuela to see if we got anything else going on. Here we go. Maduro wants Venezuela war with Trump. America. Uh, I don't see Maduro wanting a war, but nonetheless, he may be forced into something like that and really can't do a whole heck of a lot. Bienvenido. The warships off the coast there of Venezuela. Trump has been authorizing strikes even on fishing boats, claiming they're narco terrorist boats. I've seen the footage. It's kind of really sad to see all this that's going on there. Also going underground, Venezuelan President Maduro's Israel massacre in Gaza are the most horrific genocide since Hitler. They quoted him as saying, Maria Cornelia Machado, Venezuela's struggle is Israel's struggle. The battle lines in Venezuela are clear, defiant anti-imperialism or becoming a U.S. vassal state. Isn't that so true? I mean, that is so true. It's not even funny, not even remotely funny. Let's move on, though. I want to share some things with you that I think are very important here. Venezuelan Maduro says Israel's aggression on Gaza is genocide. This is an article here on Wafa News Agency. Said May 6, 2025, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro described the Israeli occupation aggression on the Gaza Strip as a genocide against the Palestinian people. He also condemned the international community's silence regarding the situation in the strip. Uh, oh, by the way, there was something, and I don't know where it's at, but Yeah, I think it's over Maduro, in fact, and I think it was on RT. And Trump was wanting to bring, oh, I know what it was. One of the agreements is supposed to be on here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Was let's see, he said he also asked for the removal of sanctions from more than 100 Venezuelan officials, offered that Vice President Delcy Rodriguez would run a transitional government until new elections take place. This is allegedly what Maduro was saying to Trump in trying to work out an agreement, right? Oh, here it is right here. According to Reuters, Maduro told Trump that he was willing to leave the country if he and his family were provided amnesty from all U.S. sanctions and a case brought against him in the International Criminal Court is ended. Yeah, do you realize how hysterical that sounds to me? Right? A case against him in the International Court, Criminal Court. And yet, Trump, when it comes to Netanyahu, he was charged by the International Court, but oh, he can just waltz right on into America with no big deal. Mr. President Maduro, I don't think the International Court, Criminal Court, has any jurisdiction over you. Well, I'm sorry, they probably do, President Maduro, because only Netanyahu can rise above the International Criminal Court. He's the guy that can run the world and be as if he were God. I tell you what, I just published a new article over on patreon.com/Israeli News Live about Matthew 24, the precious sister Sue that asked that question, what about this generation will not pass? Amazing comments that have been given on that article. You really ought to take probably the time, take a look at it. This is some of the comments right here. Uh, let's see, I really enjoyed learning more of the truth. Thank you, and God bless you guys. Not sure the value of saying anything, as it does seem you interact here. Excuse me, doesn't seem you interact here much, Stephen. And Zafad, I am sorry. That is so true. I actually wrote kind of like an apology to him because I get pulled in so many different directions. Yes, it is very hard to do it. But he says, but I appreciate this analysis. Having personally been in serious study and questioning of all hold true doctrinally, I appreciated this a lot. I printed it out and will be going through it in my daily personal Bible study. God bless that, brother, right? And this is eye opening. Thank you for digging in and going through all the scriptures. You made it very clear. Bless you and your family. This person here also wrote a beautiful, very long comment there, but very beautiful comment. And this is the article right here, The Generation to See the Fig Tree. That's the title of the article. This generation shall not pass. And I go into Matthew 23 and 24 and I re examine those. I had to throw a lot of what I believed out the door because once I really started looking at this historically, it is unbelievable. And I'll just, so you can see some of this article on here. Let me just kind of blow it up for you a little bit so you can see it on the screen for yourself. Those of you that just want to even pause and read a little bit as we go along here, right? This really, I take you way deep into this. I go back to the historicity of it. I go into Israel being indicted by Jesus, what he says about him, and then really going into all the different sources, the different sources, the different historians that spoke about these things. You'd be surprised to find out how much of this stuff actually was being fulfilled within that 40-year period of 70 AD. So hope you enjoy that. Take the time. Let's jump back over this. So it's very, very serious what's happening there. Venezuela Maduro, we just read that one there. This is another one right here on ABNA News. Maduro reaffirms Venezuela's full support for the Palestinian rights. That was November 17th, 2025. But now here it is. The United States president is wanting to take him out. But what is another country that has a very serious issue like that of Maduro? Well, oddly enough, just recently, October 31st of 2023, 2 years ago, Bolivia severed ties with Israel. So others recall envoys over Gaza. That was something. I don't think it probably lasted very long because, after all, what Israel went after was actually Morales. Israel is. Let's see. This is what. Okay, let me get it. Here we go. Israel is a terrorist state. 7 times Bolivia and Morales took a stance for Palestine. Wow, that's Mr. Just so you, I want you to get a good look at this man's face. He is an indigenous president of Bolivia. He was already ran 3 terms. He was going for a 4th term, which was not part of their constitution. The people had voted him. He actually won the election. This was back in 2019. And just as a reminder, I actually interviewed a very precious couple right here, Miranda, and I forget Miranda's last name. I know it's on the screen there. Let me just pull this up where you can see it. Yeah, Miranda Boer and her husband there. They had been living in Bolivia for 7 years. They were very concerned about the overthrow and the violence that was going on in the country. They knew that Israel was involved in this. Let's listen to a clip of this real quick. 2019.
And what happened was years ago, before Evo Morales was elected, there was a different party called the CC, and they had placed kind of a mess. In fact, before them, it was just a change of government every 4 years. And the thing is about down here, it's not the same as up there. Like in the United States, it's kind of just a different puppet, no matter who gets elected, you're still going to have your Medicaid, you're still going to have your schools, you're still going to have your social programs. Down here, when a new government's elected, everything changes, everything goes away. So they were tired of it changing every 4 years, and it was a mess. I mean, the DEA was down here doing the narco trafficking because coca leaves grow here. That's
See there? Look again. I forgot all about Miranda saying that they were down there drug trafficking the cocoa leaves out of Bolivia. Oh my gosh. What do you know, right? Not just the lithium that they wanted to be able to steal from these people, but Morales, one thing that Miranda said that he had put in such beautiful social program for the people. He had done very much like the leader over, oh gosh, what was it there? That was oh goodness, I forget the name of the country. It'll come to me here in a little bit. That had helped his own people, and he divided the wealth amongst the nation. Um, and he was ousted under Clinton's administration. They took this poor man down. Um, but anyway, Miranda brought out some very good points there. I did a couple of stories back then on it. This one as well. CIA trying to overthrow Bolivia again. I'll play a little clip of this here as well.
Election audit after opposition says vote was rigged. Sounds like to me, and even from what I'm getting from our sister here and our brother that has contacted us, it's another case of overthrowing yet another nation. And I clearly, or let me put it this way, I really believe that we are dealing with another New World Order crisis on the verge here, collapsing yet another nation that they do not have under control, that the Sanhedrin would love to be able to see get it under its own wings with its own leaders inside of there and not someone that they don't agree with. But anyway.
And that's exactly right. That's what happened to Morales. It's no different. Maduro is no different. Both these nations have stood up against Israel. Both these leaders here came against the Israeli government. And this one here, Morales claims U.S. orchestrated coup d'etat for Bolivia's lithium. That was on Al Jazeera. Let me kind of blow that article up right there a little bit so you can see that. Former Bolivian President Evo Morales has claimed he was forced from office by U.S.-backed coup aimed at gaining access to the South America's country's vast lithium resources. The remarks came in an exclusive interview with AFP News Agency on Tuesday, weeks after Morales resigned as president on November 10th, following protests against the controversial re-election to unconstitutional 4th term in a poll widely denounced as rigged. I don't believe it was rigged. I think the people really wanted to keep him in. Like the sister was saying on here, as she brought out in this interview right here, Miranda, she said that these social services that the country had, he'd already been in there 3 terms, so that was 12 years, if I understand right. And because of that, the people had gotten used to being able to have this beautiful freedom. They had money. They actually were not. I mean, it's a poor country as it is, but at least they were getting subsidies that they don't normally get because, like she said, every 4 years, new president, new set of services. So everything you had suddenly vanishes, and they were tired of going through that, very tired of going through that. So, and I think what it was, I was thinking about Benghazi, not Benghazi, of course, we know that case there, but that was where that country over there, Libya. That's what I was trying to think of. Libya, Muammar Gaddafi. See, Muammar Gaddafi had done the same thing that Morales had done when he was in his nation there. Muammar Gaddafi had given his people, and I want to show that to you real quick there, because Gaddafi had done more for his people. This is Tucker.
The U.S. didn't want him to resign. They wanted to kill him. Why?
That's
Because
good.
Gaddafi, and I met him 3 times. I took Biden on my second trip to Libya, by the way. He went with me when I spoke to the whole country. And every meeting I had with Gaddafi, he wanted 2 things. He wanted to unite the African continent into a group of nations economically, like the European economy. He wanted to base it on the gold standard. And the U.S. and Europe didn't want that. And the other thing is they wanted control of his oil, and they wanted control of his sovereign wealth. So Gaddafi had to go. That's outrageous, and it's wrong. I hand-carried the letter back from Gaddafi offering to resign. The U.S. didn't want him to resign. They wanted to kill him. Why? Because Gaddafi, and I met him 3 times. I took Biden on my second trip to Libya, by the way.
And Gaddafi, thank you so much for being honest enough to tell that. I'm so glad Tucker had on Kurt Weldon about this, because the thing is Gaddafi, he had found primary water. Let me pull that up, and then we go in there and blowed up everything that man built for these people. The desert bloomed like a Garden of Eden over there because of Gaddafi. And then what they did is they went in there and totally destroyed everything that man had done. Gaddafi's great man-made river was a slap in the face to Western economics and particularly to the World Bank and the USA. It ridiculed their desalination venture for countries and struggling with shortages where producing such water costs $4 per cubic meter. Right? That's what they wanted to do. Look at that. Look at the people
Libia
involved.
szukała ropy, znalazła ocean wody pod pustynią. Gaddafi stwierdził, że pobudują rzekę przez Saharę i zbudował.
Let me see if I can put this into, I can't do it into English there. But we'll turn down the volume on it because I can't. But this is what he did right there. See these pipes here? He had discovered primary water. And because of that, he had gotten free water for his people. This man invested in those people. But do you think that the Americans were going to allow this for a moment? Not a bit in the world. So, and what I'd be also interested in as well, when I spelled there you go, Libya, Gaddafi. He had built a beautiful place for them. And then with American democracy, that's so true. That's what America did to it. That's what it was before. And then you can't help but wonder. Why is it everywhere we go and Israel goes, that it's just death and destruction? Muammar Gaddafi's Libya had free electricity, 0% loans, and the world's biggest irrigation project, the Great Man-Made River, tapped from a massive 1980s water discovery. UNESCO even praised it. Was this a dictatorship or a hidden paradise? We're just lied to about everything. Let me just, out of curiosity, I just really want to know what he had to say about Israel to see if that was also a factor in this, right? Gaddafi was planning to sell oil for euros and introduce a gold-backed African currency. Yes, he was. That's very true. Let's take and we'll repost that. And by the way, if you ever want to follow us on, I use my my pen name that I write books in, Israeli News Live at Stephen Denoon, Denoon. So you can always follow us there. Let's see if we got any other interesting things here, what Gaddafi may have said. It is Zionist propaganda against me because I support family and strongly the Palestinian resistance. There you go. There you go. Gaddafi dare speak against Israel.
Against me because I support firmly and strongly the Palestinian resistance.
His call for an Arab summit has been largely ignored. So where does that leave Gaddafi, who sees himself as the one leader who can unite the Arab world against Israel?
Yes, so you think that the balance of power is in favour of the PLO at the moment, not in favour of the Israelis?
Yes, of course.
The longer the war continues, the more...
I'll be doggone. I had no idea that he felt that way. No idea. That is interesting. So, as they say, what do these three men have in common? They go against Israel. Dare stand, dare lift your heel against Israel, and you'll be squashed like a bug. And that is exactly what this poor, precious lady right here is facing. Natalie Streker. Okay, she said, I am confident that over 2 million people in the UK have shared thoughts on the genocide in Gaza that are stronger than anything Natalie Streker has expressed. I am quite certain that I am one of those 2 million. Yet Natalie Streker, an avowed pacifist and mother of young children, today faces up to 10 years in prison on the Terrorism Act when the verdict in her case comes in. The UK has no justice. They have bowed the knee to Netanyahu. And listen, when they all go out there and they start talking about, oh, you guys that love the Muslims, you just want Sharia law. Go back and look at the videos I did back in 2018, 2017, when they totally went in there and destroyed the Syrian people. And then they sent all these men into Europe. Not women, just men. And I told you guys then, I said, it's being orchestrated to be able to overthrow Western Europe, the UK, and America. Why? You have to understand, the Israelis have a belief in their Talmudic teachings. I know. I used to sit with Chabad, other Jewish men that were part of the Chabad when I was part of that. And they would tell me about how they would use the Arabs to kill and destroy Esau. Esau were Christians, or are Christians in their view. It's really the other way around. The Pharisees are the Edomites. But nonetheless, they believe they have a duty to do that. That's why they destabilized the entire Middle East. Sent these men on a plight, many of them probably not even really wanting to, but they ended up in that condition, given huge sums of money to be able to live in Western Europe. They're bankrupting our country, they're bankrupting Europe, they're bankrupting all the nations financially. So when things collapse, turns into chaos, it'll be a free-for-all. I know it's a little bit erratic in what I've said today, but please take the time to research these things. Do anything you can do for Natalie Streker. Write about her, post about her, reach out to the United Kingdom court authority there and demand her freedom and her right of freedom of speech. Everything we can. I don't know exactly yet. I'll reach out to Cynthia McKinney, who posted the article about her, and I'll see what we can do. Let's see, facing this charge on the UK mainland, Natalie would have jury, and there is not a jury in the UK that would not throw this self-evidently vindictive nonsense out in 5 minutes. Thank God for that. Why is it worth the time and expense of Whitehall to send Alison Morgan Casey here to direct a weak case against somebody who is obviously not a terrorist? I'll come back to this. I do want to come back to it to see what we can find out. I don't know what that's about there. But I haven't had really a chance to go into that deeply yet. Anyway, Also, again, don't forget, I'll put the petition here in the link below for you, repeal the Noahide laws. Very lengthy, in detailed description about what they're about, why they need to be repealed before we end up with some of the same horrid laws in this nation here. So I want to thank you. Thank you for your support for Patreon, my wife's Substack channel. Thank you for supporting that as well. And don't forget, right above my head is our mailing address. We do need your support. There's not many people willing or have even remotely the courage to tell you the truth and stand on it and not waver. But that's exactly what we do. We apologize when we make the mistakes, and we try to move forward, and we try to correct that. And that's what we're doing even now. So if you support the truth, please support the work we do here. We greatly appreciate you and thank you. You can also go to our website, IsraeliNewsLive.org. We are posting articles there regularly, by the way, just so you know. Recently, Psalm 83 and the War Against the Remnant. I posted one of the ones from our Patreon channel, one of the articles I wrote about Psalm 83 there. Yana's one of her latest articles was an open letter to Carrie Madej. She also did the Velvet Tongue on Unity, another very interesting article that you might want to check. But you can also donate right there online. A direct click there would help us tremendously. So we thank you and God bless you and thank you for listening.